We're going for a ride in a Volvo F12. So we'll put the hat on and start the engine. The buzzer and light the buzzer you heard and the light you just saw was a low water warning light. It's just a check to let us know that it's working. If at any time we did, while driving, blow a bottom radiator hose, that would immediately let you know that you'd lost water before you cooked the engine. If you were just relying on the temperature gauge, there's a possibility that you'd miss it and you'd cook the engine. So it's just another one of Volvo's safety features. Amongst those lights along the top there, quite a few of them are not only visual, but they're also audible. Low air pressure when our power divider is in, and also for your oil pressure. We've got a 16 usable speed gearbox where we have 4 positions on the gear shift. We go through 4, then we lift that red button, go through the 4 again to give us 8. We can then multiply that by 2 by using the splitter, up to overdrive, back to direct. It will not work until we actually physically push the clutch, and that then gives us 16 gears. We maintain to drive the truck basically as a 9-speed gearbox, so we go through our 8 gears while we're in direct, and as we get into top gear we just flick that into overdrive. That gives us 9 gears. Works quite well on the flat. Naturally enough, if we're in some undulating country, there's a need to use that in between those gears, but it's purely a decision that you find yourself making as you're driving along. You're not anymore driving with the seat of your pants or your ears. It's very quiet in here. It's a totally different and new environment. So you find yourself looking at the tacho, looking at the road, and making a decision. What will we do? Will we go half a gear or a full gear on this hill? So you'll see what I mean as we go around. Just pulling out onto the roadway now. And away we go. Into 4th gear. Now we'll make the range change. We'll lift the button. Back to the 1st gear position, which gives us 5th gear. 6th gear, we haven't used the splitter. We're starting to run down a bit of a hill. We'll go into 7th. We've got a bit of a speed limit here, so we've got to keep the speed back. Bring the revs up a little. Apply the exhaust retarder. Slow us down a little as we're coming down the hill. On and off the brakes. Holding it on 60 k's, which is our limit at the moment. Okay, we've got a hill coming up, so we now find ourselves making a decision. What will we do with this? We look at it and it's pretty heavy going, so we say, okay, it looks like full gears. We let it drop back to about 1400, go a full gear, brings us in about 1800. You seem to get around about 400 to 500 revs on that, depending on how heavy the pulling is. And away we go again, into 5th gear. It's very, very steep just here, so by the time we went back to 4th and back to 3rd, we'd be wasting our time. So we'll do a skip change, we'll push the range down and we'll go straight back to 3rd. So we're now in 3rd gear. As you can see, we're pulling pretty heavy. We'd have just wasted our time changing to 4th. So we'll just now let it run up at about 1900 revs just to pull up over the steep grade. Steering on a Volvo truck is beautiful, as you can see. We're fully loaded up to 38 tonnes, one hand, no problems at all. It's not too light that you lose the feeling. You've got it there all the time. It's just light enough to be able to use with one hand and control very well. We've got a large selection of instruments, as you can see. We have the pyrometer, which is the exhaust temperature. and a very important instrument, which we'll talk about a little later. We have 4 temperature gauges there for oil temperature of engine, gearbox and front and rear diff. Of course, the tachometer with a green area in it, which is there for a reason, to give us the most economical spot to run the truck and also the best performance. Naturally enough, speedometer, air pressure gauge, voltmeter, oil pressure, water temperature and fuel. We're just holding back coming down this hill. We're still on a 60k limit. Now we're up to 80. Find ourselves with another hill in front of us. Make that decision again. What will we do? Looks like a full gear job, so we'll let the truck do the work for us. We'll let it pull down. It's down to about 16 now, down to 15. Go a full gear into 6th gear, about 1800 revs. It's down, holding at about 15 and a half. 15, you're not hurting it, it's still in the green, it's pulling, no trouble. We're down to about 14, we'll go another full gear. She's working at about 16, lovely. Just starting to pick up a little now. Now here we'll use the splitter because we've still got a little bit of hill, we're doing 1800. We'll drop it back and make the motor work again. Comes back in at 15, just lift us over the hill. And again, we'll just get that half a gear to get back into direct, keep the momentum going. Now we're on the flat again, up to 2000, back in at 1500. Full gear, no effort, no problem. We bring it up again to 2000. Full gear, 1500. Starting to face downhill a little now, so we can finally get into overdrive top. 1500 revs, we're just idling along down the hill. Exhaust retarder just to hold us back. Just holding there on 1600 revs, doing about 85 k's. A little bit of brake to slow us down a little. We have a corner coming up over the next hill. We find as we come over the hill to the corner, we're going to want about 2 gears back. Now to save going back those gears and wasting fuel and our own energy, we'll first of all pre-select that, remembering it doesn't work till we push the clutch, and then find the right gear to go into this corner. So we think 6th gear keeps the momentum going. Came in there at about 1800 revs, keeps the truck going, but saved ourselves some work. 15, go a full one, in at 18. Round the corner. We're off the highway now and onto a back track, a dirt road. Climb, sitting on 15. You're not hurting it. Using the torque of the motor, you're letting the truck do the work. 1500 revs, just let it work. Got a pretty long hill here where we'll probably need half a gear a couple of times because we won't be able to pick up and keep the full gear going. So we're now at 1800 revs, let the torque do the work. Pull it back to 15, let it work. You can feel it biting in and hanging there. You're not wearing the engine out, you're not doing a lot of revs, you're not pouring a lot of fuel through, you're just making the engine work for you. You can sit back and relax. We'll just let the climb up again. 1700 now. 1800. We'll just let it brush over 1800. We'll go for a split change from overdrive 5th, direct 6th. Came in at 1450. No problem. Just hanging in there at 1450. Letting the truck do the work for you. Right, we're coming to a steep hill now. We'll select a lower gear into 5th. Synchro mesh gearbox, so we just don't worry about double clutching. You'll do the gearbox more harm than good. Just foot straight down, push it through gently. No effort, no problems. Let the revs come up a little bit, make the exhaust retarder work. Just pull it back with the foot brake, come off the foot brake, let the brakes cool, come back on the foot brake, let the brakes cool again, retarder's holding us back, up to 2000, brakes again, back to 18, brakes cooling again, holding on the retarder, up to 2000, let's pull it back again, 1800, brakes cool, no effort, no problem. Find ourselves coming around a corner, and again you'll see how easy the steering is, just one hand, no problems. We're onto some flat terrain now, full gears will be fine, 2000 in at 15. So easy, letting the truck do the work for you, no effort. Up to 2000, full gear into 7th. Some road slightly corrugated, still one hand. Just finds its way along very nicely. A beautiful ZF steering box. Down a little rise, so we pick up a little bit, down the hill, doing about 80 k's over very rough road. Can't feel anything in here. As I say, you're not feeling with this or this, it's the eyes. Just about to drop over the hill, we just want to keep the momentum going, find that full gear, over we go. 1600 revs. It's picking up now, 1700, 1800. We've got a corner coming up, so we'll drop it off at 1800. Touch the retarder, just hold us back a little. Have a look at the corner. We'll have to do a bit of gear changing here by the looks of it, but it'll be full ones. Around we go. 6th gear. 5th gear. Very steep pinch at the top. Range change back to 4th. Very steep pinch at the top and over. Probably want another full gear before we get there. We're up to 2000, but it's going to start to drop back in a minute. Right. 3rd gear. Sitting on 1900 just to crest the hill. And over we go. 2000, full gear, 1500, range change again, back to the 1st gear position. No effort, no problem, single clutch. Don't double clutch it. Slow sort of box, just gentle, a gentleman's truck. 2000 revs, in we go again. Some very rough corrugations a little further along, into top gear. Doing 80 k's now. Feel a little tiny bit through the steering wheel, but nothing to worry about. We have some feeling. Just cresting the hill, 1500, letting the truck do the work for us as it lifts us over the hill. Went over at 1450. Foot off, just let it gliding through, 70 k's, no worries. Okay, we see another hill coming. Doesn't look as though we want to use the splitter again. We go some full gears. Down to 1500, coming up to a corner, so we better slow down a little. Full gear. Alright. Now we'll skip a gear as we come in the gate. Into 4th gear, over the crest, around the corner we go. We spoke about the pyrometer before, a very handy instrument. Exhaust temperature, You know how your exhaust running on a hard pull should sit about 500 degrees centigrade as your revs are down. Also a very handy instrument for cooling it down again. A turbo must have some time to cool down for two reasons, for cooling and for oil feed, because it gets its oil feed from the engine. So we've got to stop it spinning. It spins very, very fast, the turbo. It's got to come down, slow down. It's also got to come back to about 200 degrees centigrade before we shut the engine down. We've come in, we've dropped back pretty rapidly. We're about 400 after that pull. We're back to 300 now. So around about another minute and a half, it'll be down to 200, and we know it's safe to turn the engine off. So that's a Volvo truck, letting it work for you.